like so far in this history of this podcast, the only freestyle artist, of course, was Betty D, who's been on the
Okay.
show.
Okay.
And I was just such a huge fan of the genre as a child. Um, Now, to get back into your history, you were born in DC, is that correct?
Right. I was born in Washington, D.C., in Georgetown, George Washington Hospital. But I don't remember much of it because I was a baby, a newborn. And
Mhm.
my mom she used to work at one of the embassies as a cook, as a chef.
Mm.
And she was so busy, she sent me with my family to Puerto Rico. So I remember a lot of growing up in the island of Puerto Rico in my farm, in the farm that my family had. So from the ages of pretty much newborn to like 7 years old, it was all the island of Puerto Rico.
And do you ever get a chance to go back and visit Puerto Rico?
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. My brothers are still, my family members are still out there. Unfortunately, because of COVID and restrictions, we can't. Well, now it's a lot more looser. We can go in, but back then. But yeah, we make trips every year. We do cruises, we hang out, and we visit the family. So I'm actually planning on going this summer again because two of
Mm.
my older brothers still live out there. They have families and I have nephew, nieces out there. So, and a lot of fans out there in Puerto Rico. So I'd like to go out there. It's a lot of fun.
That'd be nice too if you get to do performances while you're there.
Yeah, I actually, the last time I did a performance there was, I would say about like 7 years ago. It was a while ago. Believe it or not, my Latin music connected there more than my dance music. My dance music is known there, like my freestyle stuff
Mhm.
and the stuff that was charted, like Batter the Heart and the remake of Don't Stop Believing and I think Without You. But the Latin stuff, the Spanish recording stuff, that's what they remember.
Yeah, and I think it's really exciting too that you were recording in Spanish at the time too, when
Yeah,
some Spanish artists were focusing on Anglo recordings.
yeah, yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was the time of the big Latin boom with Ricky Martin and
Mhm.
Shakira. I was already, well, Colombia had came up with a genius idea. So it's like, hey, he speak Spanish, let him sing Spanish. So again, I grew up listening to Spanish music as a little boy in Puerto
Mm.
Rico, and when I came back to the States, I didn't know any English, so all I knew was Spanish. I had to relearn English again. But I got the best of both worlds. I grew up with musicians who a lot of my peers probably don't even know. There were a lot of older cats, and they were mostly ballads, but it was infused in me already,
Mm.
whether I knew or not. All I knew is when I came back, and if I heard a song, I could easily sing it without a problem. And music was music to me, so it didn't matter what language I was singing in. I just knew I could do it. So
Mm.
when Columbia Records approached me and they decided to do like a marketing campaign, I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. So that was kind of cool. It opened a lot of doors for me as well in the Latin world per se.
Mm. One thing I was going to mention is I was doing some of my research on you and your music, and I was so surprised to hear that you had done a cover of "Baby I Believe in You"
Oh
by the
yeah.
New Kids on the Block, and it's
Oh,
amazing.
huge blockhead. I'm a blockhead. I love the New Kids. I went on tour with them in 1990. It was me, Perfect Gentleman, Brenda
Mhm.
K. Starr, Marky Mark, and the Funky Bunch. I forgot who else. It was another group. And I remember meeting Dick Scott backstage. I don't know if you know who they are. They used to
Yeah.
manage Maurice Starr. Saw him and met
Mhm.
so many amazing people, and they were so cool. Donnie Wahlberg and Danny. They were so nice to me, man. Yeah, they used to call us track acts. So every time we used to go into the big arenas, obviously, the tickets, people, the fans were there to see the New Kids on the Block. But since they were on the same label as us, the record companies put a lot of label mates together, and they were like, "All right, track acts this way." I remember the first time I heard that, I'm like, I looked over to my manager at the time. His name was Louis. Louis, I was like, "Are they calling me a track act?" He goes, "Yeah, bro, that's what you are. Get used to it." I was like, "No problem."
What does that even mean?
Track
Track
act. So
act.
track act means so they had a band.
Mhm.
We had tracks, meaning
Got
music
it.
track. So we had just instrumental music. So
Okay.
we were considered track acts. So track acts that way to your dressing rooms, and the bands to the only band there was I think the only band that it was the New Kids on the Block, and I think Debbie Gibson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
was gonna say.
yeah, we crossed I crossed paths with so many musicians back in those days in the 1990s. I'm talking everyone: Janet Jackson, Paul Abdul, Michael Jackson, Prince,
Mm.
Donna. It was just crazy how we were all in the same room. Obviously, they had a bigger fan base than we did, being, more because dance was always considered at the bottom of the
Mm.
totem pole when it comes to category of music.
Mm.
And well, in those days, and it was something that not that many people knew about. Not many people knew about the style of music that was coming out of the Northeast in New York and Florida and Chicago.
Yeah, and isn't that pretty much the definition of freestyle? Is the origins are from the Bronx and New York City and that area? That's
Yeah,
where a lot of the artists got together.
absolutely. Yeah, mostly Latin-based communities.
Hmm.
Um, that's where rap pretty much started.
Hmm.
So we were it all surrounded around the the music of hip hop, because it was mostly African Americans and Latinos at those parties at the time. They called them block parties because in a city like New York, there's a lot of streets and it's light to light. So we would call them blocks. How many blocks do you live? I live 3 blocks away from here. So if you do 170th Street, 171st, 172nd, that's considered 2 blocks. And 2 blocks. Also 172nd, yeah. So we call them block parties. And uh, every 10 blocks, there was a public school. And in a public school, you had this big space that was caged in, because that's where most of the kids in elementary school went for recess. And they would run around and play hopscotch and jump rope. Well, at nighttime, the DJs, the break dancers and the rappers, they would steal electricity power from the light post, because we needed power for the turntables and the music. So that's where the block parties were, and they were at night, so there was barely any light. But no one cared. They just wanted to hear the music. And that's where a lot of the music before radio was played, like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Kumo D, and all that stuff, Planet Rock, Sugar Hill Gang. And a lot of the Latino break dancers were mostly Hispanics. Um, we were the dancing visual. Most of the rappers and singers were African Americans, some Latinos, but mostly dominated by African Americans. And they were the front image for the music, until until the Latinos started mixing, and decided to graduate from the dance floor to the stage, because we had something to say. We had a word in what we wanted to do, and the only way to do it was to get on stage and define it ourselves. So we went ahead and wrote some songs and created some of the uh, drum patterns that were close to hip hop, a little
Hmm.
faster. And we were young, so we all wrote about the universal language, love. We all battled the heart, look into my eyes. What is that? Live love without you.
Yes.
I love, baby, I believe in you. And it's just all,
Yeah.
it was all the same thing. And that's how it gravitated to this young cult of dance music. And it just spread to the United States like wildfire. Now, every every state called it something different. New York City called it Latin hip hop slash freestyle. New York, Florida, down south, they called it like booty music or dance music. Um, Chicago called it heartthrob music. The West Coast called it high energy. So everyone had their own title for it, but it was the same thing.
Yeah, I guess it's really the drum patterns that are very distinct too, right? Like part of the part of what makes it freestyle. And one thing I really appreciate about freestyle music is too, like the artists of freestyle seem like such a family like community. even now? Like you guys have
Yeah.
stuck together and still do tours together. And how close are you now with other freestyle artists? And have you had a chance to get together and plan out tours and whatnot since COVID?
Yeah, we're pretty close with one another. But unfortunately, ever since Facebook came, just like everything else, Facebook can sometimes be used for negative stuff. And then you had
Mm.
it started mostly with legal issues, because what wound up happening is certain musicians wound up staying in the business when the music was taken off radio, and it was their livelihood. And some of the members of certain groups, they detached themselves from the group and decided to choose another path. They wanted
Oh.
to have a job with security, which is totally understandable. And some of the musicians stood, and they decided to copyright names, and that's when everything just hit the fan. That's when uh, social media became really big, and people started realizing, oh, that's where Lisa Lisa's going to be. Oh, that's where Vanilla Ice is performing. Oh, that's where the Cover Girls and George LaMond and TK is performing. But then they noticed they look a little different. So it started getting crazy once they started having legal issues with one another. They would just bad things were being thrown out on social media. So we are close to one another, but unfortunately, there's a lot of them that, because of litigation,
Mhm.
they're not the best of friends right now. But I have tons of good friends in the business, and when we get together, we kick it. We kick it for a while backstage, and it's still a little weird. We try not to invade our space because of COVID,
Mhm.
unfortunately, but we try to come together as much as possible, because that thing has touched so many of as people, and I'm sure in your life and my life. And so it's the same with us. And it used to be a free for all. I mean, I would walk into Stevie B's room. I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? What's up? What we doing? And we start sitting there, we start drinking and talking, and what we're going to plan out next. And now it's got to, we take it with a grain of salt. We got to be very careful with one another. But yes, we are very close to one another. We talk to each other whenever we need something from one another, and it's just a matter of just calling.
Yeah. And so now, like it is difficult to manage all the performances and such, but I wanted to know what your current projects are that we can get people excited about now that, things are slowly kind of returning back to a live atmosphere.
That's for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just released a song, a remake by Paula Cole, called "I Believe in Love,"
Mm.
with Fly Groove. So it's Fly Groove featuring George LaMond. It's doing really, really, really well in the freestyle community. I think we're up to like 40,000 views within 3 weeks. I think it hit 40,000 a couple of minutes ago. And
Exciting.
yeah, it's so much fun. So Joy Gardner, who is the one of the members behind Fly Group production team, was away from the music business for about 23 years, and he was working for CNN, and he felt like there was a void that was missing, and the political air was not to his liking, and he decided to step away from that, and he went back to what he loved, which was music. Now, the last stuff he produced was anything that had to do with TKA, so it was about 20 something years ago. So he slowly came back into this, and me and Joey Gardner are really good friends. So he called me one day with this idea, and he was like, I think it's time for us to release a song. In today's world, there's a lot of hatred going on right now. The streets are dark. People are confused. We need something. We need some love in the air. We need to excite people about this music again. So he came across this idea when he heard the Paula Cole original, and then he thought of, what if I mesh this together? And he says, the only way I would do this record, George, is with you. You would have to be the voice. I didn't think it was going to work. I'm like, I don't think it's going to work, Joy. I don't like the way it sounds. I don't know, man. I questioned it throughout the whole recording process. Finally, when I recorded the song, um, in these days, and it was COVID, at the time it was pretty bad. So we had to record it separately. So
Mm.
I was in my own recording studio here in Florida, because I now live in Florida. And he was back in New York. And um, and we wound up recording it. And I sent them the stems of all the vocals. And I figured it's not gonna work. I mean, I did what I did. He calls me back within the hour and he tells me, dude, I love it. Whatever you did, you capture the moment in the song. So I'm thinking, oh shit, we're gonna do this. So I'm like, you really like it? He goes, Dad, I love it. You gotta leave it. I was like, well, I can make it better. No. Don't do nothing. This is perfect. Let me work with it. So it was done in early 2020. And because of COVID, he just wanted to wait. And we waited for a whole year. We sat with that song for about a year. No one ever heard it. We did a video. No one knew about it. We didn't leak it out. And once we released it in October, I want to say October, the song was released. And then November 8th, the video was released. It has just been a whirlwind of constant comments and inboxes and calls and emails and interviews, that it was so flattering. So the song is called I Believe in Love, featuring myself. And that's the record we have out right now. I definitely want you guys to check it out.
We're going to play it. We'll play it on the show.
Yeah, definitely. And I want you guys to tell me if you recognize my love interest. It's a good friend of ours, and she's been in a lot of movies and TV series, and she did this favor for Joey Gardner. So I was so grateful for her to be a part of it. A little intimidating, because she's done so many great movies, but it was fun. It was fun. We had a great time. And a lot of people are like, wait a minute, isn't that from? I'm like, yes, it is.
Oh, it's like a little Easter egg for us to figure out. Hey, I'm into that. Okay, sweet. And we'll make sure that we also share the video on our playlist on our YouTube too.
Please do.
Awesome. Check it out. Oh, I'm so excited. So any concerts coming up?
Yes.
Future?
Yeah. I am. So I'm on, if any of my fans want to know where to follow my tour dates, Bands in Town is an app that I use. And my website, www.georgelamond.com. Yeah, New York. I just came from Miami. I'm going to Chicago, going to California. All my dates are on there. I don't know them by heart, but they're on there.
No one expects you to know them by heart.
Yeah, Long Island, and then back to New York. So I'm mostly in the Northeast, but for 2022, we're going to focus all on the West Coast. I actually got a couple of calls from Canada. So we're working that out as well. I know it was Montreal. Montreal was one of them. So we're working with that right now.
Oh, it's a beautiful city. That's that. Like, I mean, I'm on the opposite side of the country, but I always hear how beautiful and amazing Montreal is. The food, the culture.
I love it. I mean, the culture is one of them. I think it's fascinating. It's almost like going to Puerto Rico. If you go to Puerto Rico and you go to a Chinese restaurant, you walk into this Chinese restaurant, and just like any Chinese restaurant in New York City, you tell them what you want, and they'll tell you, okay, this is what you want to. In Puerto Rico, they will speak to you. If you close your eyes, it sounds like an island. It sounds like a local. They speak Spanish, amazing, better than me.
Yeah.
And yeah. So when you go to Canada, I think French is a beautiful language, and I think the culture is so sexy, and the fashion and the food, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I love poutine. And even before anyone knew about poutine, I'm like, yeah, guys, you don't know what Canada is until you have some poutine. That thing is addicting. It's not the best not the healthiest food for you to eat, but I don't care. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's not a real poutine too, unless it has the cheese curds. You can't just put the shredded melted cheese. Apparently, it has to be the curds.
No, they call that disco fries in New York. That's what the diners used to do in the 1990s. After drinking so much alcohol, I'm sure that's where poutine came into play. You would go clubbing. You have all this alcohol in you. You go late to a diner or to a restaurant at night. They used to stay up really, really late they were actually 24 hours. You would go in and you would order disco fries. These are thick, cut, fried French fries with beef gravy and cheese, not curds, cheese. Yeah. Just regular cheese, which would make it gooey. But the curds, a squeaky little pop, That's what I used to look for. And man, it was a big thing. I tried to bring it home with me. It didn't taste the same.
Doesn't quite work. I know. I've
Doesn't
tried
work.
that.
People on the plane was like, what the hell is that smell? So embarrassed.
That's okay. You'll get to have some soon, hopefully.
Yes, I will.
Hopefully.
Yes, I actually went to culinary school, so I can make it myself. So,
Mm.
but I've been on a health kick lately, so I gotta chill.
Just sparingly have that poutine once in a
Absolutely.
blue moon. Well,
Absolutely.
what was your favorite album that you released in the 90s?
My favorite album was my first album, Battle of the Heart.
Yeah.
Only because I was so naive. I was so green. I didn't know what I was doing, but I guess that was the magic. I was 19 years old, and I'm talking about love and life, and I didn't know what the hell I was. What was I thinking? I didn't even experience love yet. I didn't have any kids, but that was the fascinating thing, the way I connected to these songs and what I was writing and the people I was working with, because it was a team effort. Like, I mean, my whole team was like amazing. Like my product team, my management, my production, the engineering, my background vocals, the co-writers I worked with, the writers that submitted music. I learned so much from this first album that it was like music life 101. And one of the things that I appreciate at that age was that we didn't have social media like we have now. We literally had to fly to countries to meet people physically, shake their hand, hang out with them for a while, get to know their likes, their dislikes, their passions, visit the distribution rooms, the record stores, the record companies, the manufacturing companies, the clubs, the DJs, the record pools, just anybody who was involved in music. And I got to meet an enormous amount of people and made some great relationships that some of these people are CEOs to record companies right now. It's funny. My it was called an LPM. That's a local promotion manager. Back in the days when you went to visit another state, somebody was in charge of taking this particular artist who was marketed in this particular demographic, and they take you to meet the DJs, the shows, the interviews, the magazines, and all the media that they had attached with that particular. And my LPM was Charlie Walk. Charlie Walk is the president of Republic. He owns Republic Records, Ariana Grande, and Charlie Walk used to LPM the New Kids on the Block because he was from Boston. So Charlie was a crazy mother effer. He was a trip, and he taught me so much just to learn some of that. I got a little bit of being with him before he blossomed to this empire he has today. Super nice guy, and that's just naming one out of the many that I met.
No kidding, hey?
But to answer your
I
question,
never knew about LPMs.
yeah, but to answer your question, Battle of the Heart. I'm sorry, I don't want to tangent, but Battle of the Heart was one of my favorite records. Yeah, local promotion manager back in the 1989, 90, to like the mid 90, 95. Every artist was handed an LPM, whatever, Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, Canada. That you just had someone who took you, and their job was to pretty much make all the stops before you go home.
They had to be pretty knowledgeable about each market then.
They had to have a lot of connections, and they had many liaisons working that were not that were doing freelancing for other record companies. But yeah, they took me everywhere. It was like having a concierge. That's pretty much what it was. Favorite concierge. We're gonna go to, what's that big station? They played my record out in Canada, 100 FM.
I don't know. It might have been probably out of Toronto, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah. So we had an LPM out there, and he pretty much, he was the one that facilitated anything that has to do with radio stations out there. So it was oblivious to me because I didn't know, but they come back and they would pretty much report, hey, this station is playing your record. this TV show is playing, you wants to do an interview, this magazine has been playing, da da da. So it's like a concierge to the ears, to the streets of every type of media that could promote the actual single that was out at the time.
Hmm.
Pretty
Well,
cool.
from going from your favorite album to deep cuts and album tracks, what would you have wished would have been a single? What's a song that you would have chosen that you would have loved to have had that opportunity?
That's a really good question. I've never been asked that question before. I always wanted, there was a song on the first album, it was called Love's Contagious.
Mm.
Love's Contagious was a song about just living in a better world, and everyone making the right direction, taking the right road to positivity, and everything was all love in the air, and there was no wars. It was just about, it was just like a sort of coming together. And it was a song that kind of didn't make sense, but it worked. And a lot of fans, a lot of George LaMond fans, they love that one.
Yeah.
They love that one. Love's Contagious is one of the singles that, it was a B-side. It was a B-side to another song. So it wasn't really like a single, it was just a B-side.
No, we'll make sure we play a clip of that song too and share it with everybody.
Yeah, they're gonna bug out. It's a really good song. It was actually the B-side of a cover I did with Mark Anthony. It was the single was "I Want You Back" by the Jackson Fives, and I had Mark Anthony do backgrounds for me at the time. He wasn't recording at the time. He was still, trying to find himself, trying to find that niche that he had. So he was recording pretty much anything that had to do with dance music or ballads or pop theater, until he blew up with the Spanish stuff.
Yeah, because I know he's primarily a salsa artist. So I was thinking, I never really thought about him doing dance music.
Yeah, he did a lot of you Googled a lot of songs that he put out. And nothing that stuck, but if you're in the dance community and the music business, you just know that you've heard the songs, you know the DJs who played it, that you probably had a cassette or a CD yourself. They never broke the pop charts, but he had a bigger calling.
Yeah.
We're big calling, and it did
Things
very
worked
well.
out for Mark Anthony.
Yeah, he's fine. Let's not talk about him anymore. Forget about Mark.
Tell me about the project Urban Society. So this was working with Robert Clivilles, correct?
Oh my goodness, yeah, Urban Society. So this was I had I had 3 recording deals in like 97, 98. I had an international recording deal, I had a Latin deal, and I had an English deal. So in the international deal, this was going to be released in Japan, and it was a boy band, but it was a more of an adult contemporary boy band, multi genre, gender. We had females in the group, like a lady singer who's I forgot her name, but she was an amazing singer. National too. We had a lot of people from other countries who were recording on stuff, who all came together, and it was a group of us. And it's funny recording that album. First of all, Robert Clivilles he's a genius. Him and David Cole from CNC Music Factory, and obviously they've had major success. But he was also a good friend of mine, and he also started in the freestyle. He recorded their first song was a record by Seduction. Can you feel my heartbeat? You make me feel. I think they did that one, and I think they did Lydia Lee Love. That's when they first started, before they started working with like Whitney Houston and the New Kids on the Block and all that. And it was a group that through the process, I was doing the majority of the vocals, but there was a lot of members coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. So it started with 4, and then it turned into 6. And unfortunately, during the ending of the album, the album never really took off because of the negotiations fell from Sony Japan, but they did release the record, Japan only. And I actually have 1 copy of Urban Society, and it's a pretty cool album. I think I have a couple of songs that I co-wrote on that album.
I wonder if we can find it out there on YouTube, because you can find everything.
You could, yeah. Believe me, you'll find it. It's out there. There's a couple of tracks out there. There's a lot of people that don't know about this app called Discog. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Discog. Yeah, DISCOG. and you can find any wax or 45 or 33s you want. Just type it in. You'll find that someone has it, and you'll get it shipped to you in brand new condition. Very inexpensive, because I'm a huge collector of wax. So I play a lot of old jazz records and old. I like, if I can read the credits and hold it in my hand. I know it's nostalgic. There's something about holding a piece of record back in the days. Remember those days when you would open the record and you just read everything?
I've said this. Oh man, there was nothing like Tuesdays, because that's when all the new releases came out. And just going to, in Canada, we would go to the HMV usually, or the
Oh my
Sound the Record
God,
Man or whatever.
HMV. Wow, HMV. That's crazy. Yes, I remember them very well.
Yes, and getting a physical copy, taking it home, turning it on for the first time, and just like engaging yourself in the whole experience. It's just such a missing feeling, you
It
know?
is. It is. And you know what? You hit it right down the nod. You know, coming home, there was no previews. There was no um, uh, advanced copies of sound bites. Like, you didn't know what you were going to hear once you took it out the plastic, took it out the sleeve, and put that shiny wax paper right on the record. And when you hear that, in the first couple of seconds, you either loved it or you hated it. But that was the experience. That was the experience. You're like, and if you loved it, you would just play the whole thing and just sit back, have a cup of coffee, glass of wine, smoke whatever you want to smoke, and just play music and just sit back and let the music take control. It was an amazing experience that I can say I don't miss, because I still get that I get that feeling every time I buy it myself. I order some music online somewhere, and I receive them, and I just can't wait to play. We actually have wax of the new single of I Believe in Love. We have actual 12-inch records.
Oh, and people can pick those up too online.
Oh yeah, www.flygroove.com. It's that simple. Go there, and they have I think they have CDs, and they have 12-inch. Do I have one around here? No, it's in a box right now. I just moved to a bigger place, so everything's in boxes.
Still got it. I'm back. But yeah, no, that's so cool, because like, what do you think your vinyl collection is like? How many vinyls do you think you own?
So I didn't want to go crazy with it, because vinyl takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
Most of it is in storage in New York City. So I started another collection down here. I have like I just started. I have like about maybe 75, 50, nothing crazy, because that takes up a lot of room. And next thing you know, I got like 3 full boxes of like TV size 30-inch, 40-inch boxes of records all piled up in storage. So, and that's not including the cassettes, because I have tons of cassettes as well, and 45s. But mostly my collection have been anything with instrumental or jazz. I love jazz. I've been listening to jazz a lot. So that's the kind of stuff I've been kind of listening to right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I want to get into the whole collecting thing, but you're right. It is a space issue.
And it's expensive.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you might be lucky if you go down to like a flea market or something and you can get some kind of like gems. But yeah, it can cost like $40. I'm thinking Canadian money, but like $40 for a brand new record.
Honey, it's the same thing over here. $40 US dollars. Same thing over here. It's up there. But if there's something that you want, and if I see it and I know I'm not going to see it again, I'll grab it. Like if I'm looking for the new Adele. I want to get the new Adele record. So, but I want to get the actual album. So I haven't seen it yet here. But once I get it, I'm going to grab that bad. But that's going to be my collection.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm already liking what I hear from that.
Yeah, she's no joke. Good for her.
Now, we're wrapping things up pretty soon here. I was going to ask you too, what kind of like TV shows did you enjoy visiting the most? Like some of the appearances you've made, and like your favorite hosts and experiences like that.
Yeah, I used to love going to 103.5 KTU, and I would love hanging out with Fast Freddie Cologne. Fast Freddie Cologne was one of the air personalities that every time I called, I would just show up to the radio station, and that was on 103.5 KTU FM in New York City back in the early 90s. He was someone that was always treated me with open arms. He was a fan. Broadway Billy as well from KTU, same radio station. And I used to love to visit downtown Julie Brown on Club MTV. She was such a sweetheart. She made me feel like that was my home. And we used to have so much fun because it was all recorded live on it depended the location it was. Because back in the 90s, there were so many clubs in the New York tri-state area. Excuse me. I remember them recording one at the Palladium. This place was huge. It was a old theater that was they had recreated and they fixed, and they spent millions of dollars. And when I'm talking, this place was huge. It was huge. You could fit about 5,000 people in there, and they recorded. I think I sang. If you go on YouTube, type in George LaMond and Battle of the Heart. I think I was wearing a red blaze. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was Mr. I don't know. I thought it was Elton John or something. But it was so much fun to record that live. I remember we did it live. They had to ask, do you have the vocals? Because sometimes audio on shows don't come that great if you do it live. You're not set up the right way. And I said, no, we don't have the tracks that we have. We have no vocals. It only have supporting background vocals. They were like, oh shoot. So we did one shoot and they tested it out and they were like, he sounds great. Let's do it again. So we recorded. That was actually live vocals, because sometimes if you did like Soul Train, they have the vocals on there and you had to lip sync. And I was the worst lip syncer. I hate doing. You could tell right away. I would mess up all the words and everything. It was the worst.
Yeah. No, I'm aware there's quite a few shows that actually require lip syncing, and I don't think people know that. It's not your choice.
No, isn't that sad? But you're in the business of audio and video, so you would know, because it has to sync up. And if it doesn't sync up, I'm like, but wait a minute. They look like they're huffing and puffing up there, and but they sound on point. It's like, but I get it. It's about the show. It's about the performance. It's not about how exhausted you look on TV. So not to take away from anybody else.
And it gives people a chance to know you. It's a good promotional tool. Then they can come see you at your real show.
There you go. And I'm glad you brought that up, because right now, the new single, I Believe in Love, I'm performing. It's the first song I always do. And I perform it with the vocals. I want them to experience the song in itself if they've never heard it. I want them to hear it the way they're going to hear it if they purchase the CD. And then when they know it, which I told myself I'm giving myself 6 months 3 months to perform it that way. And then after the 3rd month, I'm going to start performing it live. And I'm going to take a gauge, see if people are feeling it. But I tell you this, every time I perform that song right now, the first time I come out with the song, people just, they recognize it. In my markets anyway, and that's a good feeling. They really like it. So I'm glad.
I can't wait to share it on the show too. I'm very excited for that.
You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. I play a dad in the video. So I remember telling Joey, I don't even want to be in the video, bro. He goes, Chuck, but you have to be in the video. You're freaking George LaMond. I'm like, yeah, I'm old George LaMond. I don't want to get someone else. He goes, who the hell are we going to get? So I tried everything in my power to not be in the video. But, what are you going to do? He twisted my arm. And I'm like, fine. He goes, look, you won't be in it as much. I'm like, so when I saw the video, I felt bad because I wasn't in it as much. I'm like, show me much. He goes, what the hell? You just finished telling me you don't want to be in the video. So it works out perfect.
Oh, I'm so glad that we spent time talking together today. And I can't wait to share this whole episode about your music with everybody. Before we leave, I wanted to ask you, what food, clothing item, toy, any of those types of things would make you nostalgic for the 90s?
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah?
The Rubik's Cube and the Sony Sports Walkman. I used to rock that big yellow thing. I used to rock those foam headphones everywhere I went. And you couldn't tell me nothing because that was the best sound ever. It was called the Sony Handyman, yellow, and everyone wanted one. And I know I had one first in my neighborhood. So Rubik's Cube.
Anti-skip with bass boost.
Anti-skip, fast forward, and Dolby. Don't forget Dolby sound. So
that's right.
You thought you were the ish every time. You was like, well, my ish got Dolby. I don't know what crap you got, but I got the right one. Yeah, man. Now you see commercials, the guy running with it, and he's banging it because it's skipping.
Exactly. Oh, well, thank you so much, George. It was a pleasure.
Naomi, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I would definitely love to see this, and I want to send a shout out to everyone out in beautiful Canada. I don't go up there as much, but I talk about it from every visit that I've been to, and the people are so beautiful and welcoming, and
Yeah.
I love the feel and the energy out there and up there. And I always say that once this whole COVID thing goes, I definitely want to go up there to visit and just just do the things I used to do, which was eat, shop, dance, eat some more, shop, and just have a great time.
Beautiful. All right. We can't wait to see you. If you come out to the west side here, I'll come west side of Canada. I'll be able to make it to see you.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. I need to go over there. Yeah, that's untouched territory for me. So I gotta go over there. You gotta love the West. You gotta love the West. You can't just love the East. So I'll be seeing you soon, Naomi.
Okay. I love that. All right. Thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I was going to tell
Thank you.
you this will be out in the next, I think December 2nd.
Perfect.
So that week I'll tag you in the social media and everything and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and have
Thank
yourself a
you.
great time and eat as much food as you can because I know I will.
Thank you so much.
All
Yes,
right,
you
love.
take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.